Often in normal times and even in not normal times, most schools set their wildly important goal as an achievement target. So something like to improve English and maths combined scores from 45% to 55% by next August, or to improve progress 8, or to improve attainment 8, or to improve a subject like English or maths or EBAC. It can be a range of things that people try and select. And the important thing Covey says about knowing where you're aiming is to make it really clear, to write it as a statement. And so they suggest starting with a verb. Usually it's improve or increase, although sometimes it can be decrease, but improve or increase, whatever it is you're trying to improve, from here to here by when. So you give yourself a very definite time frame. Now, in some schools that we work with them many alternative provisions, and they say right now it's not attainment that they want as their wildly important goal, it's attendance. And we know from what the media has said this last week with some tragic stories that attendance, if you are very vulnerable, is clearly a really, really important thing. So for some of our alternative provision colleagues, it's that they're aiming at. But where are you going? And that's a really good question to ask yourself now, even though you're exhausted, even though it's a week before Christmas. It's a really good thing to ask. What is so important? What is the thing that you're all wanting to aim at? What is the thing for your school that if you don't do this thing, if you don't achieve this thing, then everything else almost becomes meaningless? Of course it doesn't, because things are important. Lots of things are important. But the wig comes out of the whirlwind, out of all that you've got going on now. What is the one thing that for your school you really do need to focus on? So that's the first thing, knowing what's important, using a wildly important goal. The second thing, knowing what might stop you. People don't often talk about this because I think people think it's maybe pessimistic to talk about what's going to stop us. We have a great plan, we want to move it forward. Why would we want to talk about what's stopping it? That seems a little bit defeatist, a little bit demoralizing. But that is a really important question to ask. What is going to stop us achieving the thing that we want as a school to achieve? And we call that a premortem. Some people don't like that term, especially in the current climate that we're living in. But it is important. It is a very definitive term, and it does mean something quite different to other ways of saying it, like looking at the horizon or looking at obstacles that might be in our way. A premortem looks at something before you set off and works out that if in a year's time you get the results in and you're disappointed, what would have stopped you? Because the theory goes that actually we know those things right now. We know the kind of things that are going to stop us achieving what we want to achieve. And it's really important to get those out at the start of the process. Many of us in education have lived for years on postmortems, exam analysis after the exams have happened, at a performance review after the results are in. And although there's great merit in that and we can learn from that, it doesn't help change anything really. It doesn't help change the outcomes for the students who've just been through. It might help change the next lot of outcomes, but the thing is already done. A post-mortem happens when something is already dead. A pre-mortem happens when the thing is already alive and you can change it. So I'd ask yourself to do this small exercise. If you know what you want to aim for, and this actually works in your personal life as well as your professional life, think about getting fit or losing weight or being able to run a marathon, all of those kind of things, this works for too. You set the goal, you work out what you're trying to achieve, and then you work out what is going to stop me. Now, at the minute in schools, you'll come up with all kinds of things that will stop you. Staff absence, COVID, having to do testing at the beginning of the year, having to have a staggered start because of the testing at the beginning of the year, having to wear masks. All these things might stop you trying to get where you need to go. But once you've written them all down, staff absence, maternity leaves, not enough staff, people who aren't experienced in the spec, whatever it might be, you then separate that list into things that I can control and things that I cannot control. We can't control the pandemic. We can't control staff absence. We can't control how many students get COVID. It's very difficult to control any of those things, and we probably shouldn't try. We're doing what we can, but we can't control those big things. We can't control what the DfE decides to do around exams. But what we can control is so much more than we think we can. And I think the success of leadership and the success of schools that know where they're going is around this notion of working out what will stop them and then hitting the things that they can control. There's several really helpful benefits of this approach. One, it helps you feel in control. I'm married to a head teacher in a secondary school who often comes home and says, oh, it feels out of control. This is getting bigger and bigger. We've got another outbreak. We've got 20 staff off. So I know how it feels to feel that is out of control. You feel more in control when you can work out what you can influence and what you just can't. And then you give your efforts to controlling the controllables and doing the very best you can to make sure they are controlled. So that's the first reason. It helps you feel in control. The second reason it's a really good thing to do is it really helps create a team dynamic. If we're all looking at a problem and if we're all trying to find the obstacles and if we all work out what are the most important things that we need to tackle, then we can tackle it together. We can work out what to do together. It's not me on my own or them on their own. We're working as a team. And right now in schools up and down the land, people have been working as teams. They're exhausted teams, but they've been working as a team for 2 years now, fighting this crisis, dealing with that chaos. And it's really important we continue to do that, but we do need to work out where are we going to put our weight. And that is the third question. After we've worked out what is important, what are we going for, what is the aim? When we've worked out what is going to stop us and we've done a pre-mortem and we've worked out what we can control and what we can't, the third thing is to ask, where am I going to put my weight? I want you to imagine a picture of a seesaw, and at one end there's a big boulder. That's the wig, that's the thing you're trying to move. And then there's a plinth that goes up. And science would say that when you put a lever, when you put weight on the end of that plinth, that boulder will move if you get the right pressure. If you push down on the right things, then the wig will move, the boulder will be shifted. And so a question for you now, if you know what you want to achieve, are you pushing down on the right things? Or are you busying yourself with so many things that you're not really sure if any of the things that you're doing are going to make a difference? I'll give you some examples of this. One school that I'm working with wants to improve their results. Their progress 8 needs some improvement and they know it does, and they need to do it, as quickly as possible through all of the teaching and learning techniques they're embedding in their school, of course. But the problem, once you dig around in that wig and you work out why is this not happening, why are students not making progress, they've identified 35 boys who are not doing the work that they need to do. They're not making the effort, they're not making the progress, and as a result that is having a damaging effect on their child, it's themselves, on their motivation, on the class dynamics, on how they feel about themselves, on the progress of the class, on teaching and learning, on behaviour. It's affecting everything. And so they've been asked the question, where are you going to put your weight? If you know that's a problem, they are a barrier to their own success and to yours as a school, what are you going to do? And they've decided that where they're going to put their weight is they're going to split those boys between the senior leadership team, and each member of staff will take 5 or 6 boys, and every day they will go and check in with them. Every day they'll have a little list in their pocket of these boys, and they'll tick them off every day when they've had a positive interaction with them, because they believe if they do that, if they show these boys that they're cared for, that they're seen, that they're being looked after, that we're interested, we're invested, then perhaps they will start behaving better, perhaps they'll start achieving more, perhaps then they'll be more motivated, perhaps then they will achieve. One small action, huge significance for the WIG, for the school, but also for those individuals who without that are not going to have the outcomes that they need, possibly not going to have the future that they want. Where are you going to put your weight right now is a really important question to ask. I know you're being asked to put your weight all over the place. I know that, and I know that's what's really, really tough, but we have to get to that essentialist view that you might have read about in several books, very popular at the minute, but we have to get to that view of saying, where am I going to put my weight? Where are the most important things that will make a difference to where I'm heading? And am I going to do them consistently and do them well? And then the last thing, the fourth question, do you know you're winning? If I ask teachers that all over the place at the minute, as I am, they say it doesn't feel right now like we're winning. It feels like we're on the losing side and all this COVID stuff is just going to overwhelm us. But that needs to be not our everyday reality. I know that's what's going on. But there are ways that we can work out we're winning. There are ways we can celebrate that we are on the winning side, that we're doing everything we need to do. So are you winning? How do you know you're winning as an individual, as a leader in your school? How do you know that? Well, my definition of knowing you're winning is if you have committed to do something, you do it week in, week out. You don't give up. You're committed to it because you believe it'll make the biggest difference. So if I'm the senior leader I just talked about and I have my 6 boys that I'm going to see every single day and check in on, am I winning? Yes, I'm winning every single day if I speak to those 5 or 6 boys like I promised. I'm winning every single day if I do the thing that I think will make a difference. If I put my weight in the right place, I might not see results immediately. The wig might not move. The data might not change. The data drop might not say anything different. But I know, because I've made a calculated risk about where to put my weight, that if I carry on going with that, it is going to make a difference. Lag measures, data, always comes later. You think about leading when you try and lose weight. You do all the right things for a week and then you stand on the scales and you haven't lost anything. At that point, you either understand that the weight will probably show the following week or you go and eat a pizza. That is what makes weight loss either successful or not. The people who can stick with it and do the same things all of the time, lower their calories, drink more water, have 30 minutes exercise, if they carry on doing it consistently over time, then the lag measure eventually moves. The WIG is realised. And so those are 4 questions that I want to leave with you. I'll repeat them again in case you're making notes. Do you know what is important? If you do, set yourself a wildly important goal. Share it. Get buy-in. Get people invested in it, excited about it. A number is just a number, but that number in our schools translates to children's lives being changed, opportunities being open. It's not just a number. It's not just a spreadsheet. It's certainly not just an accountability measure. It translates to real children's real lives and being able to make a difference. And that's what we're in this for. No other reason. And that's why it's important to focus on it. Second question, what's stopping you? What's in your way? What can you control? What can you not control? What are you going to do about it? Get all of the issues out to start off with, and then start tackling the things that you can change. 3, where are you going to put your weights? You know what you want. You know what's going to stop you. Where can your unique talents be placed in order to make a difference? And then 4thly, how do you know you're winning? How do you know that what you're doing is making a difference? How do you know that the thing that you said you would do, you are doing? Perhaps you have a little note in your planner or a ticket in your pocket that you can check the boys or the girls or whoever it is that you're checking in with, staff. It's really important to know what you're doing and to do it consistently, religiously, with real discipline. That's why Covey's book is called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. It's not just about having a great idea. It's about having the discipline to execute it well. And it's my belief, and it's many of the people I work with's belief, that if we get those things right, if we can follow those 4 things, if we can find a process to make the important thing, to make sure we know what we're doing and we're putting our weight in the right place, then as a team, we will feel energized. We'll feel like we're winning. We'll feel like we're achieving. We'll feel like we're making a difference, and we will make a difference. And that's why we're in this game, isn't it? To make a difference. I know right now it might feel like you're not. I know right now that the circumstances feel overwhelming, but I promise you that right now there are thousands of young people grateful for what you're doing. And in 20 years' time, when we all look back on this period, they'll remember what you did for them. They'll remember the care that you showed them, and they'll remember the sacrifice that you're all making for them. And so from me, on behalf of PiXL and the schools that I work with and the young people I represent, thank you. I know it's not easy. I know it's incredibly hard, but I do know it's absolutely worth it. Thank you.